All right, Mr. Bloxson, good afternoon.
Hello, good afternoon.
You're not driving, are you? You're in a
No,
mess.
ma'am. No, ma'am,
Okay,
I'm not driving.
okay, good. Would you tell us introduce yourself with your full name and your current mailing address?
Yes, I'm Courtney Carter Blockson. My address is 146 Copper One Drive, Monroe, Louisiana, 71203.
All right, thank you, sir. So you're
Thank you.
here today seeking a pardon with restoration of firearms. You were sentenced in 2022, April, in Peach Parish, 3 counts of filing false public records. You were sentencing was deferred and you were placed on 3 years active supervised probation. Is that information correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Your case has been assigned to Mrs. Stapleton. Would you answer her questions?
Okay, so why don't you tell me what's going on? How many counts were you charged for, and what did you actually do?
They changed the charges a couple times. As far as what I know, as far as that it was
It's a
three
very poor
counts.
connection,
Yes.
Mr. Bloxson. It's very poor connection. You're breaking up.
Maybe
May need
I'm
to
sorry,
pull
I'm
over.
gonna pull over.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, I am. Yes, is that better?
Mm-hmm.
That's better.
Okay. Yeah, as far as with the plea deal, it was only one count of the transference of, falsified records. There was only one count that I believe I actually was charged with the plea deal.
So when I was reading the information here, it said that the Louisiana Department of Revenue noticed at least 150 tax returns.
No, ma'am. That's not correct. From what happened, as far as it was very actually confusing for me because I've never really been through this, process or had any legal issues. But from my understanding, they were basically they were investigating a possible 150 cases that they could have looked at, and they interviewed, and I believe it was mostly a phone interview. I think they interviewed 5 or 6 witnesses that basically said that it was in regards to child tax credit, basically where they reported a document claiming child tax credit that they say I had knowledge of, and it wasn't correct. It was a falsified document with improper information on it. But it was only like 5 people that they actually even talked to, and I believe that was through the phone. And I think they met with maybe 1 or 2 people in person, but the other 3 people was just a phone interview.
Well, let me ask you something. One of the individuals said they did not give Courtney Blackstone permission to use their social security number and name to indicate that they owned a daycare center. And he took it upon himself to falsify information on tax returns when not being advised to do so. For the duration in question, tax specialists at the Louisiana Department of Revenue could have sustained a loss of approximately $131,000.
Yes, ma'am. Did you want me to respond to that?
Yeah.
Okay. Just to go into detail, I was unaware that it was about the case, but to go into detail, what actually happened was I used to provide tax assistance because my dad and I owned a restaurant for about like 30 years, and there would be certain people that would come into the restaurant because they knew that I did business taxes, and they would ask me, could I help them? And
Wait a
during
minute.
that,
Okay, so business taxes, and they asked if you could help them. Did you charge people to help them with their taxes? Because I see where you said that you were helping them so they didn't have to pay outrageous costs. So did
Correct.
you charge them a smaller fee?
No, I never charged anyone, and that's what's so, just frustrating for me. I never charged anyone for any tax service. I never represented myself as a tax preparer. I never even technically filed any tax returns at all. I would prepare them a potential tax, and then they would set up an account on TurboTax, and they would submit their own taxes. I never had access to anyone's bank accounts. I never received any payments. There was never any payment made, to me directly or indirectly. The only thing, from what I understand, because mind you, I was never interviewed about this case. I was never the investigation. I was never even questioned by an investigator. When I found out about this case, an officer with the Monroe City came to my restaurant, and they said that you are being detained as a courtesy from the Attorney General's office because they're thinking about they're trying to set some charges upon you, and they detained me. And while I was detained for about 3 to 4 hours, that's when the official charges came through. And then once those came through, I was informed that the charges had changed again to something else. Because initially it was filing tax returns, but I guess they found out that there was no tax returns filed, and that's when it got changed to submission or knowledge of a falsified document. But
Right.
I think then
Hold on. I read here, it says, I will admit I was suspicious some were lying about their child care credit before I helped create receipts. I should have known better. So you created the receipts for them?
Correct. As far as once they
documents.
Okay, yeah. Once they would file their federal and state tax returns, like I say, they would submit them on TurboTax. Once they would file those returns, their refunds, everything, came to them because it was their money. I never received any money. And at that point, if they had, a subsequent issue that would come up, and with the tax credit, the issue would be that they would, for instance, say they had the ones on the that are in question. It would be an instance where if they, for instance, work, for McDonald's or don't really make a lot of money, they would say that they had like their mom or their sister or their cousin, that would keep their children. And they would ask me, could they have a receipt? And I'm like, if you just get your mom or your sister or cousin to write a receipt, if you paid them for childcare while you were working, then yes, you can file that as a child tax credit for Louisiana State. And
okay, I got you. I have a statement saying that kind of stuff too.
Yeah.
So, so myself, does anybody else have any questions?
I do.
Okay.
So did you prepare those receipts for some of those people?
Yes, I did prepare them, and I would give them to them, and they would mail them to Louisiana State. But in my defense, ma'am, I explicitly made it clear, because I have been helping people for a number of years. I made it explicitly clear that if Louisiana State is already providing daycare for your child, if you are not paying your, I'm sorry, ma'am, I wasn't trying to upset you.
The special agent's report says legitimate daycare centers were used to facilitate processing of child care tax credit. So, but you're saying they were individuals, not daycare centers.
Correct.
All right. And let me ask you this question. So you were sentenced in 2022, and you paid your restitution finally in 2024.
Yes, ma'am.
Late 2024, because initially, when we reached out to the Attorney General's office, they were opposed to any favorable consideration for you because no payments had been made at that time, and that was July of last year, had been made toward restitution.
Okay. Yes, ma'am. Could I comment on that just really quickly?
Quickly, yes.
Well, yeah, as far as the restitution, I mean, I was real, good about trying to take care of this as soon as possible. So when I was placed on probation and I adhered to every part of, the stipulations to, all the rules that they had placed on me, I took care of all of that. And at the very end, that's when they notified me there was a fee that had not got paid. And I actually reached out to the investigator's number. I mean, everybody trying to get this paid, and that's the only reason why it took until 2024 to get paid.
Okay. And early on, you mentioned everybody that came to the restaurant knew you did business taxes. What did you mean by that? What kind of business
no.
tax?
What I was trying to explain was me and my dad had had a restaurant within the community over the last 30 years. And a lot of people knew by me owning a business, they just assumed that I, knew about taxes because I would prepare our business taxes. So when they needed help with their personal taxes, they would come into the restaurant and just ask, hey, could you take a look at this? Could you take a look at that? And that's where the help came in as far as me trying to help different people with whatever tax issues they may have had.
I understand. Thank you, Mr. Blockson. I think we're prepared to vote. Mrs. Stapleton?
Yeah, I'm gonna deny your request today for a pardon. You haven't been on parole long enough. So,
Mr. Prater?
This is the only thing you've really ever done other than traffic. And I think you've learned your lesson. And my vote is to grant your petition, and recommend to the governor that you be pardoned with restoration of firearms.
Mr. Freeman?
I also, I think this is kind of a circumstance case here where special circumstances, nothing else on your record. My vote is to pardon with restoration of firearms.
Mr.
I concur with Mr. Prater and Freeman.
All right, and Mr. Blockson, this is really a confusing case to me, but I do agree you have nothing else on your record, although it is a recent conviction. You have paid the restitution, and that was the only objection cited by the Attorney General's office, and my vote would be to make the recommendation for a pardon with restoration of firearms. So you've received 4 votes in that regard. We're going to make that recommendation on your behalf, sir. Good luck.
I'm sorry, can I just say one more? I know you guys are busy, but I just wanted to say that she hung up on me.